Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay, so today's episode, I kind of feel like I'm playing a game of Risk. Because I know that my outfit for Youpreneur is being delivered today. And the lovely DPD sent me a text saying, your order will be here between 13:23 and 14:23. It's 13:18. So I feel like there may be a point in this episode where you guys will hear a clear cut and paste, where I've had to stop and get really excited about my Youpreneur outfit. Whoop, whoop. So if you do hear that little cut, send me an email and let me know and be like, Jess, I spotted it, because that will really entertain me. But today's episode is a super exciting one because today I am talking to you all about why you should be selling old programs rather than spending all of your time creating new ones. So let's dive in, because it's a big day. I am taking the old, playing the postman risk, and I'm actually really excited about this topic because I have spent my morning binge watching YouTube videos. It's actually not been a massively productive morning, if I'm honest. I got up, it is fairly sunny, I took the dog for a walk, and I got into that mode where I was like, oh, I really want to do something new. Okay, have you ever been there? Have you ever felt like that, where you wake up and you're like, yeah, my business is fine, but I'd really like to do something new. And for me this morning, as I was on my dog walk, I was walking along and I was like, maybe I should start like a lifestyle blog. And I was having this dream where I was starting this lifestyle blog and people would, go onto Instagram and they would follow me because I had this cool life. And it wasn't until about midway through my little dream, I'm walking along the beach with the dog. Max is barking at people because that's just what he does. And then I was like, oh yeah. Annoyingly though, to have a lifestyle blog, I would probably also have to not live in pajamas and do other things like talk to people. And I realized very quickly at that moment, my dream was over. And I came back to the house and I was sat here and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch some YouTube videos. And so I've just spent, I don't know, about 2.5 hours watching Amy TV with Amy Landino, who I love. And I think her YouTube content is brilliant. She's really funny. It's really interesting. She does a lot behind the scenes stuff. But one of the things I was watching was her video on why she's made certain pivots this year with her video channel. And it was really interesting to me because I've watched a lot of her content and I'm one of her proud 279,000 subscribers. And I don't think her content has changed all that much over the last year. She's gone, sure, more into time management, into productivity and things, but you can still find information from her on how to vlog, how to set up your own YouTube channel, all that good stuff. She's just doing it differently. And it was really nice to kind of see the behind the scenes of her life and the way that the pivot has taken place. And so obviously after I'd watched this video, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go back and see where that pivot was and identify it, because obviously slightly obsessive. And I saw it take place over time. It wasn't the sort of thing that happened immediately. Like, she didn't just bring out a whole new range of content and was like, cool, well, new content's here, off you go, listen to this and still love it. It changed really gradually. And it got me thinking about the way that we sell and the way that we sell in the online space. And specifically, how people are creating brand new content like every week for sales. So let's talk about this new selling for a second, because I've been on the Facebook newsfeed for a few weeks. Sam has been away, so I've had basically nothing else to do than scroll the Facebook newsfeed and watch Netflix in my evenings. And I keep seeing these launches, like little mini launches. And every week, people will be posting up a Facebook post or a social media post, and they'll be like, I'm launching this. Maybe it's their new membership. And then a week later, they'll be like, and now I'm launching this. And it's a self-study course. And then a week later, and now I'm launching this, and it's some kind of group program. And I kind of keep thinking, well, A, dear Lord, is that not the most exhausting thing that you could ever possibly do? And B, like, when do you deliver all this stuff? Because I'm somebody who has a really successful business, and I'm very glad about that, and I'm very grateful and all of those things. But I don't have time every week to be like, yeah, I'm just going to launch a membership, just going to launch a group program, just going to launch a, one-to-one thing or a self-study or whatever. And in fact, the year that I launched 63 things, so that's more than one a week, obviously, I cried a lot. I went through some really rough times being like, oh my God, I am so busy all of the time, and wow, life. And it was tough. So when I see all of this kind of like sales strategy out there that's like launch a new thing every week, it terrifies me, because I keep thinking about all these poor people who are actually doing it and getting incredibly overwhelmed, incredibly tired, and incredibly frustrated. Because as we all know, if you go 1 mile wide and 1 mile deep, as the lovely John Lee Dumas said at Upreneur last year, you're going to end up with an audience that are repeat buyers. You are going to end up being the specialist, the expert in your industry, and people are going to want to keep following you. They're going to want to keep buying from you, and it's great. Whereas if you're somebody who launches something every single week and they're on different tracks, and you keep doing all these different things, people just get really confused about what to follow you for and what to buy from you. Because they're like, well, if I buy the offer this week, what will I buy next week? Like, will it be the same thing? Will it be slightly different? Will it be something I want more? And so actually you spend an awful lot of time confusing your audience. And when you confuse your audience, they end up not buying anything. Now, I've seen this strategy work for some people, so I can't say it doesn't work at all. But the people I've seen it work for, these people who are constantly launching, are people who have large audiences. Okay. So if you're a beginner, or if you're somebody who's like, my audience is sub 20K, so I have a less than 20,000 people in my audience total, actually selling something brand new every week is going to be really hard to maintain. And it's also going to leave you in a really awkward position where actually you start building an audience of completely different people every single week. Like 1 week, you might launch a list building course. And then the next week, you might launch a money investment course. And then the week after that, you might launch a podcasting course. And so what you're doing is you're building 4, 5, 6, 7 different audiences at a time. And that makes it super, super hard for you to take your audience on a journey with you. It makes it really, really difficult to take them through your offer stack and actually give them value in a different way, because you're constantly trying to bring new people in and attract them with something cool. Now, the biggest example I saw of this in 2018 was Bitcoin. Anyone remember this? So at the beginning of the year, Bitcoin had this huge accelerant, and everyone was like, oh my God, if you haven't got BitCurrency, go and get it now, because it will do everything and be the miracle business cure that you've been looking for. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't heard a lot about Bitcoin over the last few months of 2018, because it did have this massive high. And then, like everything, it took a little dip, quite big dip actually. And I'm not a Bitcoin specialist, but I know a lot of people who also were not Bitcoin specialists who were suddenly like, oh my God, Bitcoin, everyone should be having Bitcoin. I'm a wallet expert, or whatever you call them. And so we were seeing this huge rise of really not experts selling people on Bitcoin. And then when it took the plummet, these people weren't in it for the long haul. They weren't experts. They built up audiences, fair enough, of people who wanted magic pills when it came to money and investment. But they now had an audience that they could do nothing with. Because if they were a health coach or a sales coach or a marketing expert or an author or a consultant or anything that was not cryptocurrency related, they now had a bunch of people they couldn't use. Because what are you going to say to people? Oh, actually, I teach people how to write books. Would you like to write a book on your bad experience with Bitcoin? No, of course they wouldn't. They want to forget it ever happened. Okay, so you've really got to start thinking not about selling what looks popular. It really is about, what are you good at? What are you the expert in? And actually start selling stuff that you already have, because it makes it so much easier. Think about it this way. Car manufacturers. Car manufacturers generally bring out a new vehicle every couple of years or so. Okay, especially if you look at the high-end brands, like Ferraris bring out new Ferraris every year, but they're not any different really from the old Ferraris. And they certainly don't go, oh, do you know what? Every week I'm just going to bring out a different kind of Ferrari and see if somebody buys it. Maybe we'll do like a low price one, or we'll do one made out of solid gold or something like that. They don't do that. Instead, they focus on their core expertise, which is build an incredibly high-end, fast and powerful car. Clearly, I've never sold Ferraris. I have no idea what happens under those bonnets, but apparently it's something really good. So anyhow, your business is just like that. It's just like selling Ferraris. You can only really focus on selling the stuff that you're actually good at, the stuff that you're capable of delivering, and setting yourself up for success. Now, this doesn't mean that you can never launch anything new, but it does mean that you should be more aware of what's actually going right in your business. And instead of seeing every launch that does not get 50 sales as a failure, start looking at it and saying, how can I get it to the point where it is making 50 sales? Because if we think about it, most of the gurus and the real business masters that we see in this industry, they did not start off with huge programs that continuously got thousands and thousands of registrations. Next month on the podcast, you'll hear me interview a whole bunch of different entrepreneurs who are really focused on their own area of expertise, and they've all built businesses around signature products or signature programs that they have repeatedly sold, and they've built up that success. So people like Denise Duffield-Thomas, people like Ashley Ambirge, people like Neil Patel, John Lee Dumas, the list literally goes on. And what they've done is they've taken a really good idea, they've created a program, a product, a service around it, they've sold it, and then they've done their launch debrief and they've gone, okay, what went really well? How did I get the 10 people into that launch? Or how did I get the 20 people into that launch? And next time I launch it, how could I get 25 or 30 or 50 or 100? And that's how the real masters in the certainly the internet marketing world and the business world generally have improved their businesses. Instead of always creating new, they've used what they've already had and they've continued to sell it and they've continued to improve it. So let's look at the difference here just quickly, because again, definitely not saying that you cannot launch anything new. I'm a big fan of launching new things, especially if your audience needs them. But if you're launching new things for the sake of launching new things, and actually everything that you're selling is kind of the same, it's time to look at whether or not you need a signature program or signature programs versus randomly launching things every so often that don't quite make sense. So when should you launch a new product, program, or service? Well, quite simply, launching something new is exciting. Yay! We love it when we launch new things because it's exciting, we get an adrenaline rush, our audience is rejuvenated, and there are some really, really good things that happen when you want to launch something new. Now, my advice is that if you are thinking about launching something new, obviously you need to do your market research and you need to do it properly. So actually check out whether or not your audience is interested in learning something different from you. So for example, I am a sales expert. I am launching a podcast course. It is now open. If you haven't gone and checked it out yet, you can head over to podcastingthatpays.com if you want to learn how to set up and monetize your own super successful podcast for 2019. But I've got now a year's worth of podcasting experience under my belt. We've done a lot of experimentation with it. We rank in the top 50% for podcasting downloads from our podcast hoster, which is Libsyn. And again, if you want a promo code for Libsyn because you want to go and grab some free hosting, you can get a whole month of free hosting if you use our promo code SALES, which is in the show notes. And we've increased steadily our subscriber list, our listener download numbers. We have used the podcast for lots of other things, including challenges, running regular series, and leveraging it to increase our audience size. Okay. So when my audience talk to me about, hey, Jess, I'd love to do the sort of thing that you've done and create a podcast, I'm like, cool, that's awesome. And that means that it is time to look at a new angle for people who are in my existing audience. Okay. The difference between that, so leveraging your existing audience and following what they say and listening and delivering something new, the antithesis to it is going, I'm scrolling through my Facebook newsfeed. I'm seeing like a lot of people are interested in mindset right now. I'm going to go and sell a mindset course. Wow, wow, wow. That's not what you want to do. Because ultimately, if you are not a mindset expert, A, it's going to be really difficult to sell because you're not entirely sure what you're selling. And B, the delivery of it is going to suck because you aren't going to be able to get great testimonials. You're not going to be able to troubleshoot people through any problems that they're having. And actually, it's going to cause you more difficulty. Okay, so when you're thinking about launching something that is new, think about what your audience is actually telling you. Do they want something that's new? Do they want something that's exciting? Are they inspired by something that you've been doing recently? And are you, and this is the key question, the expert to teach them that new skill? So for example, with podcasting, I could not teach you how to edit a file if you paid me. I just couldn't, because that is not my zone of genius. However, I do have somebody who's incredibly talented, the lovely Scott Doucette, who's been producing my podcast for the last year, who can teach that. And so bringing him into the course was a no-brainer, because obviously, if I'm going to get my audience to learn about the technical side, of course it's going to be from the person who is best at it that I can most trust. The section of the course on monetizing the podcast, well, that's something that I'm great at. That is what I've spent the last year doing. So actually, I'm more than qualified to teach that. I have a simple, proven, repeatable system that people can use to help their podcast convert. And so meshing the two together is like the perfect amalgamation of all the podcast stuff you would ever need to create something that's super successful. However, if I went and launched a mindset course, which I'm not an expert in, and let's face it, I'm not woo at all, and I suddenly went from going, yeah, I'm not woo, I'm really practical, here's all my actionable stuff, to selling a mindset course that was primarily based around my thoughts on the universe and intuitive downloads and things like that, A, my audience would be really confused. B, they've never asked for it from me. And C, it would be really, really difficult for me to sell because it's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't be able to get decent testimonials. And all I'd end up doing is potentially selling people something that actually was an irresponsible decision. And I personally would feel really bad about that. Okay. So you've got to look out for these things. If you're launching new, be responsible, make sure that it's something that is in your zone of expertise, and make sure that it's something that you are going to continue to want to teach. Now, obviously, you can't decide that necessarily at the beginning. I, for example, have led some workshops or I've taught some courses that I've thought, after 2 rounds or so, yeah, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And I might put them on automation. I might bring them back at a later date. But up until that point, I've been committed to them and I've been prepared to commit to them for at least 2 rounds to make sure that I'm doing the right things. So selling new is also that big commitment. You need to be committed to seeing this through, not just its first launch, but at least another one so that you can see how you can test it and tweak it and make it better. Now let's talk about some of our old friends. And by old friends, I mean programs that we have created that we have managed to sell repeatedly that perhaps we've forgotten about and just kind of tucked in our imaginary business filing cabinets under "will sell later." I have a bunch of this. Like, I'm not going to lie. In 2016, I sold 63 different programs, products, and services. So I have a ton that I am, storing in my virtual filing cabinet, and occasionally I'll wheel out, or I just give to my private membership community to work through, or I take out excerpts to make life easier for certain people. And so I'm not a fan of continuing to do that. The reason that I had that year of selling multiple different things was because I wanted to see what worked best for my audience, what got them the best results, and I continued selling those things. Now, it's probably also important to point out that yes, I sold 63 products, programs, and services, but they were all along my area of expertise. I didn't go off and sell anything random. I didn't start a cryptocurrency course or some random course on health and nutrition. These are all things that were in my zone of genius. So they all followed my roadmap that I use with my clients to help them get the best results. So there's nothing that I couldn't reuse. There's nothing I couldn't incorporate into other courses. There's nothing I couldn't use as bonuses later down the line. But the purpose of me doing it was to really get a feel for how my audience learned and making sure that I was going to be teaching and providing the best sales education for my community moving forward. And that was really, and still is really important to me. And it's why one of the things that I focus on in my business is the completion rate of courses and the success rate of courses, rather than the amount of people that we enroll. Because actually anyone, I mean, literally my dog could enroll people into a course if he could speak and had opposable thumbs and didn't hate people. But he could do it if he had those skills. Enrolling people is not necessarily the biggest skill you will learn. Actually getting them to complete a course, see results, and get testimonials is. Retention is huge. And having old programs, products or services is actually really, really helpful for you, because it means that you have something that is already tried and tested. You have a program that already has a sales process. So instead of having to go out and create an entirely new launch plan, which can be challenging, especially if you don't have a ton of time on your plate, or write brand new emails or write new sales pages, instead you have a basis that you can go off. You have something that you can use. You have something you can test and tweak. So for example, if your sales page didn't convert that well last time, you can change it. But you could leave your email sequences in place, and you could leave your original landing pages or launch triggers in place. So you're not actually having to worry that much about all of the changes that you're making. The other thing about having an older program or an older product or service is that you can actually maximize your sales process. You can get referrals. If you've had successful students in the past, they are way more likely to send more people your way, and they're way more likely to recommend your course. You can even turn it into an affiliate program so that successful students can actually recommend other new students and get rewarded financially for that, or have some kind of bonus that helps them move forward to the next stage. And these are all things that are possible with an old program that are not possible with something that is brand new. Okay, so it really is worth thinking about, what do my audience need right now? Is it something that's new, or is it actually a relaunch or a rebrand or a slight pivot or a test and tweak of an older program, product or service that actually I know already works and that I can help them get even better results for? And that for me personally, I can have an even bigger launch for and be way more successful. Now, just in case you are not convinced just yet, I want to talk about some of the big boys in the industry, and just that you can get a feel for how these huge 8-figure businesses and beyond really are scaling their sales and what they're actually doing. So if we look at companies, I've already mentioned Ferrari, but if we mention companies like Ferrari, they're not changing their core products. Okay, they're having relaunches, they're slightly changing some branding elements, they add in new colors, for example, and they might add in slightly different ranges every couple of years, but generally they're sticking to their core values. People like James Wedmore, for example, have signature programs. So James Wedmore obviously has Business by Design, Jeff Walker has Product Launch Formula, Marie Forleo has B-School. They're not all launching new things all the time. They have a very clear product stack. They set their year up for success. They know when they are spending their time audience building, and they all release large affiliate programs so that their successful previous students can go out and let other people know that they are relaunching and why they should join. And they reward them usually with a financial incentive for that. You know, if you look at other businesses, for example, food chains that are super successful, if we look at some of the most successful food chains over the last few years, the ones that are the most successful are the ones who are staying in their own lane and doing their own thing. McDonald's is one of my favorite companies on the planet. Some of you are going to be like, oh God, really? But I love McDonald's. As a brand, I think it is phenomenal. And, you know, it has some incredible statistics. In America, for example, there is a McDonald's every 8 miles. Not a hospital, but a McDonald's. And I think that that's something that shows how viral a brand can be. But the reason that they do so incredibly well in comparison to other fast food chains that have tried over the years and, you know, failed or done well, but just not as well as McDonald's, is because they have employed this model of staying in their own lane, doing one thing really well, and they opened up a franchise model. So again, they had that incentive for other people to buy into the McDonald's dream and help them make it a bigger company and help them make more money and serve more customers. So hopefully by the end of the episode, you obviously have worked out whether or not you really need to create a new product, program, or service, or whether you actually need to stay in your own lane and relaunch something that you have already launched that's already got results and test and tweak based on your debrief. I will see you in Friday's episode. We've got something really exciting for you. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you on Friday with another episode. See you then.